Welcome to Mastery with Science, home to mad scientists, rogue entrepreneurs, and the coaches with the mostest, featuring JB and the Doctor. Join us in our lab where we mix the old recipes with new formulas and our secret sauce to create incomparable, next-level proven results for you. We call this Mastery with Science. So, slap on your gloves and put on your goggles because JB and the Doctor are in the lab.
It's alive!
Welcome back to the lab. I'm JB.
I'm the Doctor.
For all our new listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us. We are high-performance coaches that specialize in improving your presentation and positioning, ramping up your productivity, and supercharging your sales.
Whoa.
Yes, we work specifically with service-based professionals and entrepreneurs. And we believe wholly and fully in having a be rich mindset. When we say be rich, we mean people who want to rise to mastery, inspire greatness, celebrate knowledge, and help others along the way.
Help them, baby. Help them.
So that speaks to you. You're our type of people, and we strongly encourage you to keep an eye out for our private Facebook group launching soon, where we really encapsulate that Be Rich mindset and have a community for people just like you. Now, if you have listened to us in the past, thank you for joining us again. Last week, we had the pleasure of speaking with Blake Cohen, who is a recovery and life coach, and we had just an amazing conversation. If you're new, I strongly encourage you to check that out as well. It was just a phenomenal conversation where we talked a little bit about finding balance as well as a number of other aspects within entrepreneurship. And he was a great guest, but I think our guest today is really going to put him to shame, because today we have my very dear friend, Miss Jodi Glacer of Senior Care Authority. Jodi, thank you for joining us.
Hi, JB. Thanks so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited to share who you are and what you do with our listeners here today. So I'm going to put a little blush on your cheeks, if that's all right. Jodi, after spending 30 years working for leading Fortune 1000 companies, decided to bring her corporate and life experiences to help support individuals and families. I'm a big believer in that, facing life-changing decisions for themselves or a family member. With her experience and knowledge of the independent living, assisted living, and memory care options available in South Florida specifically, Jodi's really well equipped to mentor families and assess their needs. She is a lifelong Floridian. She's lived in Palm Beach County for almost 20 years and has owned a Senior Care Authority of North Broward and Palm Beach County for 5 years. Jodi, you are in our community. You are actively helping people, individuals, and families every single day. Thank you for that.
Oh, yeah, it's so important, right? I mean, people here need help with their senior loved ones. They don't know what to do. People who come into this situation are brand new to anything that has to do with senior care. They have no idea where to go or what to do. And it's not easy, especially when people come in and they're panicked because they need help right away and they haven't dealt with this.
Well, and I think a lot of our listeners maybe aren't as familiar with the senior marketplace as well, and they likely should be. We're here in Florida, so we see it quite a bit more than a number of other people do. But talk about $1 trillion industry, and very little money goes into it for marketing compared to younger generations. I think only about 20 cents on the dollar goes into marketing for boomers and seniors, and yet it's this massive marketplace. We're here in the States, at least, where you're talking about the majority of the wealth in this country held by these people. So if you're not familiar with this space, it's a really, really big and important space, and the work you do here, Jodi, is really pretty neat. So can you just share a little bit more about exactly what you do within your business and kind of illustrate that out for our listeners?
Sure. So I bought into a franchise. It's called Senior Care Authority. It's a national franchise. And the franchise focuses on helping people find assisted living for their loved ones. And that includes independent living, assisted living, residential care homes, which are small 6 or 8 bed homes, memory care. That's pretty much what it covers in general. And I also am an elder care consultant. So it means that when someone doesn't really even know where to go or where to start, I can actually help families. And I'll do something like that on a consultative basis. I will include other senior vendors along the way that also provide services, and make sure that everything is being done correctly and just stand by them. most of the time I'm focusing on the placement portion of it, but sometimes I get into the elder care consulting as well.
Can you share with us, Jodi? And I always find this a very interesting case study when I ask it of our entrepreneurs out there we talk with. 30 years almost working for Fortune 1000 companies as an employee. What prompted you to shift gears? And why this?
Yeah. So, and I have a story. I mean, as everyone does when they make a change like this. So I was mostly in sales in the technology arena the last 20 years. Before that, I was a technical writer for 10 years. So for 10 years, I wrote technical training. And then for the last 20, after that, I sold technical training. So it was something that I really understood as education and getting education to adults and understanding about how adult learning works and putting together programs specifically for those people. And I would work with I'd always start, of course, with the C-level if I could, and then get down to the directors in the IT industry, and sometimes the individuals who wanted to go ahead and bolster up their background so that they can move their career forward. And it was a consultative process. I would listen to people where they were starting, where they were trying to get to, and then from there, I would help them with the type of classes they need or put together technical training courses for a team. So the reason why I wanted to make a move was, I'd say that I think most of your listeners would agree that technology is very volatile and sales is very volatile. So you put those two things together in one career. And I've had a lot of layoffs in my career, and mostly due to no fault of my own. A lot of them having to do with changes in technology, or technology goes away. And then in sales, the businesses change the way that they're going, or your quota, you go way over your quota, or so you sell too much or you sell too little. So there's so many different things that happen and that happened to me. And so I feel like I felt like it was almost more safe for me to go ahead and start my own business than it was to continue in corporate America and keep taking or these changes. It got to be a little disheartening. I just felt like I needed to get control of my career. It took me about 3 years to decide what I was going to do. I thought long and hard about what my assets were, what I liked to do the most, what I didn't want to do, and put that together with a career and start a business on my own. But then after a couple of years, I decided I wanted to look into franchises. So I looked at the top 100 franchises, and senior placement was in the top 100. And so I did a lot of research, and I called different franchises and did a lot of interviewing and was very interested in this. And some of the reasons why I chose this specific company and this specific type of work is, one is I have a long background in selling services, so I was very comfortable with that. And we're in South Florida. South Florida, we have a large amount of people that live here that are retirees. There's no secret to that. So it seemed like it would be a good industry to be in. And then I looked at my strengths and weaknesses, and I do a lot of networking, and I love to network. And I think I'm maybe a little unusual, although maybe with your listeners, I'm not. And so I just think it's so fun to be able to go and talk to people and stop by their office and, make a day of it. It's just a lot of fun to me. And I also am really great at educating people and teaching them what they need to know and without overwhelming them. And it just seemed like a great choice. Senior Care Authority also had a really organized way of training, which I liked. And I liked the franchisor. He was very transparent, and his vision was my vision. So I could see me doing something like this. I've done a lot of sales where I worked from home already, so I'm used to being independent. And, when you go and you buy a franchise, it's like buying a business in a box. And so I really didn't want to do the creative parts of starting a new business from scratch. I really wanted to be taught something and to be able to run with it. And I got all that from Senior Care Authority.
I absolutely love that you took a background. You spoke about how you've been through a number of layoffs through no fault of your own. And I was very blessed in my career in some ways in that I survived a number of layoffs in my corporate career. But you said something, and my gosh, did it stick out to me? This is so incredible. You felt the entrepreneur path was more safe than staying in the corporate world. Doc, how many businesses and entrepreneurs fail? What's that statistic?
Well, we were 70+%? It might even higher than that, right?
Yeah, over 70% in 10 years will fail. And yet you felt more safe going this route than staying in the corporate world. And I don't blame you.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's a franchise. So they already kind of have the bugs worked out. So it's not, I don't think it's as risky. And then I was one of these people, I mean, any year that I was eligible to win a prize for sales, I won. I was on 100% Club and President's Club. I won my first iPhone and TVs. So I knew that if I had a good path to go down, that I was going to be able to be successful at it. I did believe in myself. I was always I'm not necessarily a hard worker, but I try to be smart, learn my craft, be educated, and educate others. So yeah, so I decided to take that risk. It couldn't be any riskier than what I've been through, the last 15 years.
Well, and you did your homework. You did your due diligence. You planned ahead. You were strategic with it. You didn't just jump in head first without at least getting a feel for the depth of the water. There's a lot of preparation that goes into success. We talk about that all the time within the courses we offer and the coaching that we offer. A whole lot of success is the planning ahead and the preparing. And it sounds like you did a whole lot of that, especially on the education side.
Yes. Yeah, I did. I actually went to assisted living facilities and took some tours. And I went to the skilled nursing facilities and asked them about how it is to work with people like me. And so I did a lot of that background, and I did a lot of lists, like what I like to do during the day and what I wanted to get away from, and pros and cons, all of that. I mean, like I said, it took me about 3 years to finally plunk my money down and quit corporate America.
What was that like when you finally did that? Was there freedom? Was there a celebration?
And this is, I tell this a lot to people. I felt like the sword of Damocles had always been over my head in corporate America, and it was gone, because you never know what's going to happen, because layoffs happen. I mean, I had told someone a story today. I was at a company for 9 months. I had a great conversation with my boss, and she gave me a raving review on a Friday and begged me not to leave because she said she spent so much time teaching me and she wanted me to stay. And I said, of course. And then on Monday, her boss called me and told me there was a layoff. Crazy. I mean, it's just crazy. So I just really had to get away from all of that.
And you're so eloquent and well-spoken, the sword of Damocles. I'm sitting here and I've always called it the axe hanging over my head. There's an axe over my neck. Oh my gosh.
I mean, just that thing hanging by a string over my head. You just never knew when it was going to fall. And now I've cut that thing and thrown it away. It is gone. So 5 years in, I mean, this is a long time in corporate America or in any place to have a job. I mean, the longest job I ever had was 8.5 years. And I'm at 5 years already. And I know my industry inside and out. I've been able to be allowed to learn to be a pro, and I'm able to pass it on to my clients and the people that send me leads. So it's really great.
It's fantastic. And you're at the point in a business where 5 years in, you really have a chance to make something special and really build off an incredible foundation. Because I find generally it typically takes 3 to 5 years to build out to a certain scope and level of competency and expertise in anything that we do. And you're not there by mistake. So you've talked about education, and we've talked about preparation planning. You've got the CSA, the Certified Senior Advisor, which really is a great example of the education aspect of it. Can you just share with us a little bit? How has that helped you building out that education?
Definitely. So it teaches you a lot about seniors and the special needs that seniors have, but it also helps you to recognize the other issues that they have. And it really instructs you to build relationships with those other types of trusted advisors, so that when you have a client, usually when I have a client, 2 or 3 other people that I know have a client also, because people have different needs. And I certainly only play in my space, but I understand about the other spaces. So if somebody needs a mover, or they need an elder care lawyer, or they need a financial planner, from the conversations I'm having, I'll be able to recognize those needs and then make those introductions and pull those people in. Sometimes I'm able to help a family move a loved one into an assisted living facility from a home. And because of COVID, they haven't even been able to come to Florida. They're in another state. I can find them somebody to help their mom or dad through the whole steps. We can find a realtor. We can find a mover. We can find someone to sell the furniture, and voila, we can get all this done as a team, and nobody from the family even needs to come down.
Jodi, a lot of what we want to talk about this week in general with JB and the doctor is this idea of positioning, and what you're doing right there. When you say that, what I hear is I am positioning myself as a really potent, a really powerful resource for my clients and other business people out there. And I think that's incredibly savvy, and not a lot of people are able to do that well. It sounds as if some of the education, some of the pre-work you've done has really put you in a good position to be able to do so, including getting the CSA.
Yeah. So in corporate America, the job that I was at the longest, 8.5 years, I mean, we did a lot of cross-selling. So other teams who are trying to sell systems, software systems, would bring me and my team in to sell the education to make sure that the people that they were selling to were educated, because there's nothing worse than selling software that doesn't even get opened. So I had that background already, where I understood that a large part of being a professional in the sales industry is to be able to know other resources that my clients would need and make those introductions. So I've taken that over in corporate America to the elder care space. And I built relationships with the people who are also service providers in the elder care space for a couple reasons. One is that I want to be able to give my clients their options when they need that, but also because a large part of my business comes from those other service providers for when they run into a family who needs help with their parents, that they will go ahead and suggest me. That's where I get most of my leads from, or most of my clients. So that's the way I've kind of positioned myself with other professionals, is use me as a resource. I'm going to make you look like a rock star. I'm going to be so careful with your clients. I'm going to give you updates. And so feel comfortable sending people to me. And when I run into opportunities where I can go ahead and identify that they have needs that you can fulfill, then I'm going to send them over to you. So that's a large part of the positioning. The other side is, of course, I need to position myself so that when I am speaking to the adult child, or even the older person who's thinking about moving themselves, is that I need to have credentials that they can actually see and understand. So being a certified senior advisor, there's actually a body that will go ahead and, if anybody has complaints about me, that they can actually go to the board, and my certified senior advisor credential can be taken away from me. So that's one thing. Also, I've been able to use Google and Google My Business in a strong way, where when I'm working with clients, and once I've been able to place their family members and they're happy, I've asked them to go to Google and write a business review for me. So today I have 34 5-star reviews. And when I talk to an older person, the person who's thinking about moving to independent living on their own, I always try and get their adult children involved, because I want people to go ahead and check me out. Check out my website, see how professional it is. Look at the fact that I belong to an organization that's national in the United States, and that there are franchisees all over the country. Take a look at my 5-star reviews. That's all important, and that's really what it takes for people to feel comfortable with me. And I do make it a big deal. I mean, when I first started my business, all that I had was my reputation, and that's something that I've always protected and try and grown. So that's how I position myself with those two types of with both the people who are going to recommend me, as well as the families who I actually care for.
I want to dig into that a little bit. Doc, question for you here. Kind of shift do we see when we're dealing with people when we come in a position of authority and credibility? What kind of difference does it make to be able to develop that kind of trust when we're working with people?
Especially in Jodi's field, where it's usually very scary. I don't know if our listeners know, but I do a lot of work in independent and assisted living homes, dealing with some older adults dealing with memory issues. And a lot of them don't want to go. A lot of them have been there either because they're no longer to live on their own and their family needs it for their safety, or some of them have figured out that it's just easier for them to have everything in one place. But a lot of the times it's just the fear that comes with it. Fear of giving up their routine, their home that they've lived in for so long, and now being in a place that they don't recognize, that just isn't theirs in the same way. So to be able to do that, you have to have trust. You have to have that understanding of what they're going through and what that's going to be like for them, especially in the ones that don't want to go, where the kids are doing it for their best interest or because they just can't handle their needs anymore. And those parents don't want to go. It's even more of a challenge. So again, the kids now feel like they're doing something negative towards their parents, even though it's in their best interest. They really need that support, that help, that they're doing the right thing for them, and getting those questions answered and understanding all those things that come with that is quite a challenge. I understand Jodi's job is very difficult, and you definitely want someone who knows what they're going to be going through and appreciates that.
And, another reason why adult children want to work with me is because, you've got those taboo subjects with your parents, right? I mean, I'm in the industry and I try to help my dad, and he was questioning me all the way. And I'm like, Dad, this is what I do for a living. So no matter how astute and well-educated you are as a person, to your dad or your mom, you're just their kid. And so somebody brings me in, and I actually can get more information, financial information from their parents, find out the real root of the question, the fears, and then be able to address those fears as an outsider. And so sometimes I'm brought in just for that reason. They may already have a couple of places they want to have their parents move to, but they need that. And I also, doctor, I've pulled in counselors before for when people are stuck and they want to move, but they're afraid. So I've suggested that they go to counseling. I don't say it like that. I say you could speak to somebody that can understand your situation. Maybe that'll help you. And I've seen people actually make moves after that as well.
It's a lot of emotions involved with that, but it's the same thing. Any of us that have parents, right? You should drink more water, Mom. Sure. I'm going to do that. And then someone else of authority tells them to drink water and they're all over it.
Right. Exactly.
Here's a great thing about the world you're in, Jodi, from a sales perspective, just putting on my salesperson hat for a moment. Consultative sales especially is what we believe in here at JB and the Doctor. And it's something that we talk about a lot, but a highly emotional decision like you're dealing with is wonderful in sales, because the worst place to be in sales is purgatory. Nothing is worse than a not now or a maybe. You never really want it. You want a yes or a no. And in fact, I love the first time I heard this, if you need to talk to 20 people, you're looking for 19 no's. You don't want the yes, you want the no's. Give me 19 no's. I know number 20 is going to be a yes. That's just the law of statistics and numbers behind the sales. But emotions, you get people are yes and no. And that I'm in a similar field in the other business that I run, where I work with a lot of older people, boomers and seniors. And I had a phone call the other week where I was speaking with the husband, and a financial planner had put me in touch with the husband and the wife, and the wife grabs the phone. I didn't see this, but I can picture it in my head. She grabs the phone and let me tell you why I will never, ever in a million years do this. Right. And 5 minutes later, she gets off the phone. I haven't said a word. Mind you, I haven't said a word. Husband gets back on the phone, and I'm saying to the husband, you kind of got to be on the same page a little bit here. And he's like, I'll talk to my wife. And I said, okay, because, she's pretty emotional right now, which is not a bad thing, but there's not much room for a conversation at the moment. So emotion is not a bad thing. It gives you clarity as a salesperson, but obviously a very highly emotional business that you're in and dealing with. And it is, I think scary was the word we used earlier. It's scary for people.
Well, it is. They're going to something blind. They have no idea about what to do. So when I speak to people, and it's usually people like me, which is also makes this a great career for me, because the adult child is usually the oldest woman in the family, 50s and 60s, career, and children that are older that are pulling them for some reason, like college-aged kids. And they're just, all of a sudden they realize mom or dad's not doing so well and they got to do something quick. Or she fell and now she's in rehab and can't go back home. So when people call me, I really want to find out where they are, just like I did in corporate America, and where they're going to. And then I put a plan together for them pretty quickly over the phone, and I could hear the relief. I hear them sighing with relief that here's somebody who's going to walk them through all the steps. And that just means so much to me. I mean, it makes me feel really great that I can do that for people. So that's a big part of it. And also another thing is that I actually search for the objections. So I'll actually go ahead and, because I'm a small business, right? I just started expanding, but up until now, it's been a one-person shop. So I really will ask a lot of questions and find out, well, have you thought about doing X, Y, or Z instead? What about doing this? What does your mom think about the idea? So I go through all the objections, and then I even make it one step more difficult. And I say, well, I take a good faith deposit. And once your family member moves and lives there 30 days and I get paid by the facility, I go ahead and give you back your deposit 100%. So that way, then the real objections come in, because in the beginning I was spending a lot of time and I would hear, like one story I heard that sticks in my mind is that I helped somebody and I even took her on a Saturday. We looked at 3 or 4 places. And then she said, well, you know what? My dad's girlfriend won't let him move. Well, if I had talked about giving me money in the beginning, I'm sure they would have talked to the girlfriend about this, and the objection would have been either overcome or it would have stopped the process. So I put that out there just so that I can get things moving in the right direction quickly.
There's a certain psychology behind that, having people put some skin in the game, if you will.
Skin in the game. That's right.
It makes a big difference. It really allows you to filter through the static and the noise and the people that aren't being genuine and honest even with themselves, let alone you.
That's right. That's right. And it helps me to also a psychology on my side. So definitely skin in the game. Couldn't have said any better words. I probably should have used that. I use those. But the other is that my psychology. So if there's a time when I don't hear from them for a couple of weeks, I'm not all worried and upset and thinking people have gone silent on me and dark and start calling them. I can relax too and know that they probably just have other things going on in their lives and that they don't need me this minute and they'll call me when they need me. And that is a big relief, something that I needed to get out of my life with all those years of sales, where I always had that panic when people went cold on me. And now I don't worry about that anymore.
I love that. One of my favorite things about interviewing people and having these conversations is I take a lot of notes, and there's always something that I can take away with. And I envy that, because I still carry a little bit of panic in my years and years of being a sales professional of I need to follow up, I need to check in, and I need to make sure that everything is A-okay. And I think sometimes my clients think I'm a little neurotic and crazy because I insist on making a phone call. You will hear from me every week, no matter what, like clockwork. It is a concrete routine of mine. You're going to hear from because I'm always a little scared of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, I don't have to do that anymore. And I think my clients appreciate it because they've got other things going on. And, I didn't speak to someone for a few weeks. I actually asked for, and I usually wait till I get the good faith deposit. This time somebody needed help right away. I told them the cost. He said, I don't mind paying you right away. I need to get my mom fixed up right away, get things going. And I started working. And then I called them at least 4 times over the last 5 or 6 weeks. And there were just different excuses. And then I gave up. And so about 2 weeks, I didn't call them. So it's been about 7 weeks. And literally this morning, I had sent them an invoice and they paid it. They called me last night and told me that they were going to use me. They left me a message and I said, I'll get back to you today. I sent them a text and money came today. So I guess they're ready.
And timing's everything.
Yes, it is.
Can't get anything done unless the timing's right. People have to be uncomfortable. There needs to be pain in their lives. There needs to be a friction point. Otherwise, they'll always continue doing the same thing they were doing. So teach me your ways, Jodi. I want to get rid of the panic in my life.
And then maybe this is something that, everyone makes fun of Florida, right? So I'm just going to add into it. So I think South Florida, there are a lot of people that aren't genuine, and they'll take your services for as much as they can without paying for them. And so this is something that's protected me from only working with people who are genuine, like you said. So it's just a win-win for, I think, everybody. And then I don't feel like, okay, if I put 6 or 7 hours into somebody and they don't end up getting placed, at least I know I've gotten paid. It's worth 6 hours of my time. So at least I've gotten paid a little bit. So there's no resentment with me working with them and giving it my all, because I know at least I made some money out of it. I'm not working for free.
I think about our conversation so far today and about positioning. And we talked about how to position yourself in front of fellow professionals as a trusted resource. And then you talked about how to position yourself in front of your end client, which is the person or the family members of somebody who is moving into a facility. And then you bring this topic up at this point of conversation. And this is really, how do I position myself as somebody who wants to align myself with my ideal client? And my ideal client is not everybody and anybody that has need of my service. My ideal client is somebody that knows that they need my services and help, and they want to work with a professional, and they're willing to go ahead and work alongside somebody that requires a good faith deposit. And that is very powerful there, Jodi. And I hope our listeners caught that it's not just, it's positioning it means a lot of things. And you got to put yourself in a position where you work with the people that you want to work with if you want to see true success. And you're able to do that with your method, and it's highly effective. So I love hearing things along those lines.
And it's not written in stone, right? If I speak to a family and I don't feel like they're going to go for that, but I do think they're serious, maybe I'll put it and make it half the amount of money. Or I worked with a family and I placed the husband's mother. Now the wife calls. Well, I don't need to get a good faith deposit from her because she called me. I know she's serious, so we'll just go ahead and move on without that. So it's my choice. And sometimes if it's an older person, so if I'm placing or helping someone in their 70s or 80s for themselves, I don't charge that because it's my good deed. If they don't move, fine. That's just how I choose to help and give back to people, is I'm going to go ahead and try and help them without charging them anything. I know that's going to scare them off. And if they don't place, oh, well, I don't do that often, but I'll do it. So it's something that I can choose to move, to change. It's not in stone.
It's part of that helping others mindset, that be rich mindset, right, Doc?
That's right. Yeah. Giving away, right, to get.
Speaking of giving away, perfect segue. There's a rumor that you have a giveaway for our audience. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I do have a giveaway. And so this is an article that I wrote that has the steps of what to do if you wanted to go ahead and help a loved one move to an assisted living facility or even independent or a small residential care home. And it gives you all the steps. So I'm going to go ahead and send that to you. And I'm happy for you to go ahead and send that out. Now, it isn't easy though. And if you work with somebody like me, I've already done all the homework. So I've been to all the assisted living facilities, new places that open up. I go see them. I check out the state ratings. If they have a lot of complaints, I won't go ahead and use those places. Sometimes management, like some of the larger companies, one in particular I won't mention, but they're having financial problems. And so when I first came into my territory, there were 11 of those communities, and now there's only 4, and they don't put money into them anymore. I have an agreement with them, but I won't recommend them to my clients because I want my clients to be happy. I want their family members to be in a place and go, this is so much better than I ever thought it would be. And now I have friends and I don't have to worry about the little things like how I'm going to go to my doctor's during rush hour or where I'm going to get food home. So I want people to have a great positive experience living at their next home. And so I'm very careful about that. So I've done a lot of that homework already. So working with somebody like me, there's really no negatives with working with somebody like me. And I've made it my business to have agreements with all the different facilities. So no matter what your cup of tea is or what you're looking for or what your parents want, they have to have a pool or a balcony, or they have something more serious like a catheter. I know the places to suggest that are going to fit with that. And then I go with them on the tours, and I'm their advocate, and I protect them from the salespeople so they're not getting a lot of unwanted calls. There's no real downside in working with me. But if you wanted to do it on your own, this is a guide to help you how to do that.
Sounds like it's a good starting place for somebody who just wants to do the bare bones of due diligence and aren't sure if they should be working with somebody like you. Although if I'm hearing you right, they're crazy. They just need to be calling you because there's no reason not to. So you'll be able to find that resource in our show notes. Is that right, Doc? We're going to have that resource in our show notes.
You got it.
Wonderful. And Jodi, I got to thank you for joining us. This has been fantastic. You talked a whole lot around how you position yourself. And I think there's a lot of lessons our listeners can take away from that and really key in on. If you don't have this planning and the strategy and the education in place, can you ever really position yourself as a person of authority and credibility? I would argue no. You really need to do that. That is table stakes to being successful in any business. And it's apparent that you've taken that knowledge and you've had that knowledge and you used it to get to where you are today. So congratulations on where you are. Excited to see what the next 5 years are like.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Thanks for joining us.
Doc, Jodi really talked through so many things. My favorite takeaway from our conversation is, I think, believe it or not, where she said something that Dr. P said a few weeks back. She helps people get from where they are to where they're going. And the reason that she's trusted to do that is because of the work and the time she's put into positioning herself as a trusted resource. And that to me was really powerful.
Trust is important. And I can't overstate how difficult that decision is for people to decide. My parents need some help. It just, I mean, on so many different levels, right? The need that they have to do something for them, the understanding that their parents aren't the way they used to be, that hits from an emotional standpoint. It's your parents, and now you're making like grown-up adult decisions for them, and they have to listen to you, which puts a whole new dynamic in the relationship. There's so many pieces there that people don't really think about ahead of time. And then when you get forced into that situation, a lot of times you're just stuck. And having someone like Jodi who knows that and can make that process easier is just so useful.
I would say, and Doc, as you know, I'm intimately familiar with the home and what that means to people, especially older people. And I use the word home for a reason, because home means a lot more than house does. Home means something very personal to each of us. And that is a really, really sensitive subject, to leave your home or have to be forced from your home. And to your point, it's incredibly emotional and incredibly challenging. And I hope for any of our listeners out there, the one piece of advice I will give to you around this concept and around aging and moving from a home and the decisions that go along with that is try to plan ahead. Because as Doc said, if you're reacting, you're going to be incredibly grateful and thankful and appreciative to have somebody like Jodi in your life, and she will make your world or your family member's world or your friend's world 1,000 times better. But I would hazard a guess that she could make it 100,000 times better with a little planning ahead and being a little bit forward looking, which we talked about a lot today too. So if you know somebody in that situation, just look ahead a little bit and plan ahead a little bit, and you'll be very grateful, or your family members or friends and loved ones will be very grateful that you did.
Planning. What a concept.
Yeah, we talk about that, don't we, Doc?
We do quite a bit, and I'm planning for my lunch. So what do you think we get out of here and let people know where they can find us?
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. So if you've seen us on Facebook, yeah, we're not just on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We're on Instagram. I think we're on Pinterest. Although are we on Pinterest?
We are.
We are on Pinterest. It's a brand new world, baby. I love it. We're on YouTube, and we are, of course, on every imaginable podcast streaming service out there, even the annoying ones.
All over the interwebs.
All over. So if you want to get in touch with us, if you're interested in what we do, which is, again, we work with service-based professionals and entrepreneurs. We're highly specialized. We help improve positioning and presentation. We power up productivity, and we supercharge your sales. So if you're interested in what we do, whether on a group or individual setting, reach out to us. Details are in the show notes below. We can help you out. Even for those of you who don't feel like group or individual coaching is right for you, we offer courses for everybody else, so you can take advantage of some of what we help people just like you work through so they can achieve next level results.
All that information at jbandthedoctor.com.
That's right. So I'm going to be signing out here, Doc, so you can go eat some lunch. I'm JB, and I'll sell you later.
I'm going to go eat some lunch. Peace out, yo.